Welcome to Fuck Around and Find Out, how I'm describing my life's journey. If I hadn't fucked around, I would have never found out. My name is Julie. People describe relationships or marriages as needing or wanting them to be 50-50, a 50-50 partnership. Yeah, I believe it should be, but there are times where your partner, or maybe you, can't bring your 50%. And that's okay, because that's when you pick up the slack or your partner picks up the slack. You do this for each other because you love each other and care about each other. You have a mutual respect for one another. And when neither partner can bring their 50 home, this is where you need to communicate. You need to communicate what you're able to give so that there are not any misunderstandings or arguments. That's a partnership. That's a healthy relationship. My marriage had moments of 50-50, but they were far and few in between. I can remember one time where my partner brought in more than his 50. I had a really rough day at work, and I called him and I was so upset. They were moving me to another location. I had been moved 3 or 4 times already. I had cleaned up the mess and moved on to another place, cleaned up the mess there and moved on to another place, and I was tired of cleaning up the mess. I just wanted to enjoy where I was and reap the benefits of my hard work. So I called him, frustrated, angry, upset. I even cried. I didn't want to move again. I really didn't. And he talked me off the ledge. I finished my day and came home. And when I came home, he had asked me to get something from the bathroom. And I remember getting so angry, going, "You know what kind of day I've had? You're standing right there. Can't you just get it your fucking self?" And he's like, "Just please go to the bathroom. Just go get that for me." And when I went into the bathroom, there was a bath drawn with candles. And he walked in and he said, "Take all the time you need. I know you've had a rough day." That was my partner understanding my needs that day, and that I wasn't going to come home with my 50. But if you were to ask me to give you another example, I can't think of one. But I can tell you plenty of where I brought in more than my 50. And I can share examples of where I brought 100. And you'll hear that throughout future recordings. So should relationships be 50-50? Yeah, they should. Do you support your partner when they need you and bring in your more than your 50? Yeah, you should. In a loving, committed relationship, you do that for each other. Giving more than your 50 all the time and not getting that back from your partner is exhausting and frustrating. It can cause, for me it did, a lot of animosity. I'm not sure why I tried to save a marriage that wasn't worth saving. And I've stopped trying to understand why. But instead, I'm taking the learnings from it. I'm growing from it. And I've come a long way. But when I think about the past and the stories that I share, is to let you guys know that you are stronger than you think. No matter what your past entailed, it's not who you are today, and it's not your future. As long as you can learn and grow from the experiences that you've had. What I can tell you is, in my marriage, I made a lot of excuses. I became a pro. I became a pro at hiding my hurt and covering it up so that no one would ever know what I was going through. And I was doing this for a person who didn't care enough to be my peace. In the previous video, I shared a little bit about the struggle of my pregnancy with the boys. The one that I did alone. I went through that pregnancy alone, lying to myself and the people around me. Everyone thought that I had a supportive husband, one that was by my side. Well, that was a big fat lie. I was lonely and scared. I cried myself to sleep almost every single night. At times, finding it hard to breathe, feeling like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders and on my chest. At the tail end of that pregnancy, my parents had offered to do a mini reno in the condo. Rip up the carpet, put some hardwood floor down, fresh coat of paint, prep this house for these little boys who were coming soon. It was really sweet of them. All my dad asked is that in the evenings, my husband help with some of the work. Prep it for the next day or move things. I couldn't tell my parents he wasn't living here. I didn't tell anybody. But I thought, that's all right. I can do this. They won't need to know. So Dad one day says, when your husband comes home, I need him to move the hardwood floor from where it is right now to another section so that Dad can work on it the next day. Came home from work and I looked at those big ass boxes and I thought, how the fuck am I gonna move these? I was about 7 or 8 months pregnant. I couldn't bend over. So I would knock one case onto the floor and then I'd sit my butt down and I'd scooch it across the room using my legs. And I did this multiple times until the boxes were moved. No one was going to know. No one was going to know that I was alone. I went to bed that night absolutely exhausted. I had worked a full shift. I'm carrying around twins. I'm caring for a 5-year-old. I didn't fall asleep right away. I cried till I fell asleep. Dad had asked if my husband can pull the flooring in the kitchen, which was a vinyl flooring. Yeah, Dad, I'll let him know. And I got home from work that day and looked at that floor and thought, oh my God, how the fuck am I gonna do this? I couldn't bend. Wasn't gonna scooch my butt across the floor to get it done. So I got on my hands and knees and started to pull what I could. It was a lot harder than I expected it to be. I just didn't have the strength. But I wasn't gonna let Dad know. I sat there, feeling defeated and angry. Really, really angry. Like, what the fuck? I finally broke down and called my mother-in-law. It was the first time that I had told anyone somewhat of what was going on. And she listened. And she said, okay, I'm going to get you some help. And she reached out to her nephew, who came over and did his best trying to help me get that vinyl flooring out of the kitchen. Not sure what she said to my husband. But a few weeks later, he came back. I'm not even sure if they even had a conversation. He was back, acting like he had just been on vacation or a business trip. We didn't talk about what had happened. I tried. But every time I tried to explain my feelings were always dismissed. No, that's not how you really feel. No, that's not what you mean. Those are the things he'd say. And then give me his side. He would spin it so much that by the end of the conversation, I wasn't even sure what conversation I was even having. So I would just bury it. I'd buried the feelings. I would bury the anger, the disappointment. Disappointment was real. But I would bury it all. He made it about himself. He was scared about having 2 more kids and how this was going to look. And, just all of his concerns. What about my feelings? I guess my feelings weren't important. What the fuck was wrong with me? Making excuses and being okay with everything that I had just been through? Well, a few weeks after that, I was in a lot of pain. And he had gone fishing that morning. I called him and I told him that the pain was now about every 10 minutes. I was getting scared. Maybe I was in labor. It was too early. But maybe everything that I had been through, all the stress that I was putting on my body, I did this. These boys were coming early because I didn't do good enough. Because I didn't protect them enough because of everything I was going through. Maybe the stress and the sadness. It was going to be my fault that these boys come early. That's what's going through my head. I told him I was going to go to the hospital because I was getting scared, really scared. And he said, yes, get yourself to the hospital and I'll meet you there soon. And I believed him. I'm sure he could hear in my voice how terrified I was, how guilty I was feeling about possibly bringing these boys into this world a little too early. I made my way to the hospital. I got up to the desk and I said, I've been having pains. They're about 10 minutes apart. And they asked a few questions and I said, I'm pregnant with twins. The moment I said twins, I see a wheelchair coming my way. They wheeled me into a room and started running tests. The doctor came in and said, we're going to give you something to help develop the boy's lungs. And I thought, here we go. These boys are going to come early, and their lungs aren't developed, and this is my fault. Everything was always my fault. I will say I am very lucky, as the boys were not delivered that night. And they came at full term. I laid there in that hospital bed for hours, alone, wondering when he was going to get there. And he finally showed up, and he didn't even stay long. Where have you been? And he gives me the story of having to bring the boat back into shore, and then there was traffic, and he had to go home and shower. He said, there wasn't no rush. You were in good hands, Julie. I don't understand why you're making such a big deal. Again, what the fuck? You don't understand why I'm making such a big deal? Scared, lonely, terrified, guilt, all the things I had described to him on the phone, the panic setting in, that wasn't enough to have you rush to come be by your wife's side? Where was that loving partner I had in my first pregnancy? He was gone. Nowhere to be fucking found. The birth of my boys, it was a planned C-section. Everything went smoothly. And the moment those boys came out, I saw a twinkle in my husband's eyes that I had not seen in a very long time. He was finally excited. I didn't get to see the first boy. They rushed him away. They showed me the second one. I was able to kiss his forehead. So you lay there as they stitch you up wondering why, what's going on. The room empties out, and they put me in a recovery room. I'm not sure how long I was in the recovery room. After surgery, your head is in a haze, and I was wondering why I didn't get to see the first boy, and I just wanted to be put in my room and hold my babies. Instead, they moved me closer to the nurse's station, and the doctor would come by and hit me in the knee. I didn't have any feeling in my legs. And a while later, a doctor would come by again and give me a little hit in the knee, say, "Can you feel that?" And I couldn't feel it. And I laid there, my brain telling my legs to move. You just want to get to your room. You want to hold those babies. Move your legs. Move your fucking legs. Okay, fine, you can't. Move your toes. Wiggle a toe, Julie. My brain was telling my body to move, and it wouldn't. Panic strikes. I'm going to have 3 kids in this broken marriage, and I'm not going to be able to walk. Of course, all the worst case scenarios start running through your head. Finally, the doctor says, let's move you to your room. I'll check on you soon. I got moved to my room, and I finally got to hold my babies. And for just a little while, I'd forgotten that I can't move my legs. And then I started to feel a tickling, little sensation starting in my toes. I was getting my feeling back. I thanked God right then and then, because I don't know where I'd find the strength to be able to take care of my family if I couldn't move my legs. So I thanked God. Slowly but surely, I got all the feeling back. About an hour or two later, all the visitors were gone, and my husband said he wasn't staying. What do you mean you're not staying? You're going to spend the night. Help me take care of these boys. No, he wasn't staying. He was going to go home and pick up our daughter, take care of her, and see me in the morning. And he was gone. And I laid there and I looked to my left, and there was one little bundle of joy. And I look at my right, and there's the other one. And I thought, okay, you're going to figure this out. You got this. I just had surgery, but I was going to figure it out. I didn't need anybody's help. And when I had to feed them the first time with nobody around, I thought, okay, how the hell are you going to do this? And I swung one leg over the bed and then swung the other leg over the bed. I got up and I grabbed the bassinet and I moved it over to a chair and walked around, still attached to an IV, and grabbed the other bassinet and moved it to the chair. And I figured it'd be easier if I just sat in the chair because it had the armrest that I could lift myself up. If you've ever had surgery in your abdomen, you know you can't bend over. There's quite a few things you can't do. But I did it, and I got through that night. The next day, he came to visit. He didn't stay long. And that night, again, I was left alone. At some point in the night, a nurse came in and said, "We're taking the babies to get blood work." Okay. And I set my alarm so I wouldn't miss their feeding, get a little nap in. The alarm went off, and I woke up. And I looked to my left, and there was no baby. And I looked to my right, and there was no baby. I hit that emergency button so quickly. And the voice on the other side said, "How can I help?" Or "What do you need?" Not exactly sure what the words were. And I, panic-stricken, am screaming, "Somebody took my babies." And she said, "No. They came back from blood work and you were asleep. We're going to keep them here the rest of the night and take care of them." They were keeping them at the nurse's station. I could get a good night's sleep. I'm not sure why they did what they did. I can only assume that they knew I was alone and doing it by myself all night and almost all day. They were helping me out by giving me a break. I was going home the next day. Well, you would think he'd be there to pick up the boys the next day. Help me pack them up. My sister came. And we wondered how we were going to get all this in the car. In that moment, a friend of mine who I had not seen in a very long time walked through the door. She said, "I came to visit." And I said, "Well, we're just getting ready to go home." And she goes, "Well, then let me help you get them home." And that's what we did. A friend that I hadn't seen in a very long time, and my sister who lived very far, had both come and were the ones who were taking me home. When we got home, the boys had needed a bath. I was still so sore, so tired. My sister's the one who gave them their first bath. So I can give you many examples of where I put in more than my 50, or where I put in 100. It was a very unhealthy marriage, a very unfair one. My marriage was very one-sided. There were times where I could ask for something, what I needed, but it always came with a price tag. Sure, we could do that if this happens. I could do that for you, but you have to do that for me. I became so used to it. When things happen to you, you go through all the feelings. Hurt, anger, sadness. But when they continue to happen, sad to say, but I became accustomed to it. I became a pro at numbing my feelings. I became a pro of putting things in what I call Pandora's box. Just lock it up, move on. I had a girl at work once say to me, "I wish I had your life." She had no idea what she was wishing for. Why? She said, "Well, it sounds so wonderful. You have a husband and 3 beautiful kids, and you tell me about these sleepovers in the living room and you guys having fun." She had no idea why I was doing sleepovers in the living room with the kids. She didn't understand what was going on behind these closed doors, or the hurt and the anger, disappointment that I was hiding. She had no fucking clue. Don't wish for things you know nothing about. She only needs the good things. But you don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. If you feel like your partner is always taking from you and never giving back, remember that a relationship is 2 people who are supporting each other and helping each other. They are making each other's lives easier, not harder. I will never forget how far I've come. There were days that I couldn't get out of bed, but I did anyways. There were days that I just wanted to be absolutely miserable at work because I didn't have anything to bring. But I hid it, and I did it with a smile. There were days that I came home with nothing left, drained. But I found a little bit just to get through the evening. I will never forget that I am stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. That I had a strength. That I am strong. And that I have learned and I have developed. And these life lessons have made me who I am. I didn't know who I was. I lost myself through that marriage. But this girl found herself and continues to find herself, continues to grow and develop. Now, I'm in a loving, caring relationship where my partner is a partner who encourages me and pushes me, supports me, loves me. We do that for each other. He takes care of me, like he says that's his job. And my job is to take care of him. That's a 50-50 relationship. So, if you want to continue this journey with me, in me sharing my story and the lessons that I've learned to become the woman that I am today, the woman who realizes she is stronger than she ever gave herself credit for a woman who realizes that she still has some work to do, but isn't afraid of putting in the work to find herself, to be herself. How I finally got out of a narcissistic marriage. And hit the subscribe, hit the like, and I'll see you next time.